How does a chord cause so much controversy and confusion in jazz? You know, we're better off learning together as a community than we do apart. So become a Jazz Rocks insider and join my ever-growing community and improve your jazz skills over at Patreon. Link below. Welcome to Jazz Rocks with Adam, where you watch, learn, and play better jazz. If you like getting solid information on playing jazz from a pro jazz guitarist and composer, then you'll love what my channel has to offer. If it's your first time here, hit that subscribe button. And great jazz karma will rain down upon you if you hit the like button. It gets doubled if you leave a comment. So why does the 7-sharp-5 chord create so much controversy? And why is there so many opinions on how to treat this chord? The rub, I believe, stems from how jazz theory is taught in schools nowadays. Butting heads with musicians that were brought up learning and playing traditional jazz. Each camp, if it can be generalized that way, will usually treat the chord differently. It's one of those chords that if you don't learn how to treat it carefully, you can really f it up. Just in case you don't know, a dominant 7th chord is built with a major triad, then a flatted 7th on top of that. Whereas our 7-sharp-5 chord is built from an augmented triad with the flatted 7th on top. Where things clash is that old school musicians tend to play more to the song, so they'll try to keep as many notes as possible to the original key of that song. Songs usually stayed in one key, except for maybe the bridge, oftentimes. Musicians who were taught in institutions of higher learning or conservatories, myself included, are taught from the angle of treating the chord more so as a thing unto itself. As in, I know the structure of a chord, and therefore I know this list of scales that will work over a given chord. So there. And maybe that way of thinking can work in a more modern context where many times the harmonies often tend to be less related to each other. When you're playing standards, that shit doesn't fly, McFly. You dig? Now, of course, it's not that black and white. But generally speaking, I think it's the thing that causes a bit of a divide. Now that we got that out of the way, let's find some examples of tunes that have 7-sharp-5 chords in them. You'll likely see these chords pop up in 4 places. It's probably the most common to make the 5 chord a 7-sharp-5. But you'll also find them on the 3, the 6, and sometimes the 7. When it is the 7 chord, it's replacing the diatonic minor 7 flat 5, and it adds some extra spice by leading it into the 3 chord usually. I don't know of any song that uses a 7-sharp-5 on the 2 chord, but I don't know every song in existence. If you know of a song that uses a 7-sharp-5 on the 2 chord, let me know in the comments. It Had to Be You uses the 7-sharp-5, oddly enough, on the 5 chord. Stormy Weather also uses it on the 5 chord. Georgia on My Mind, the same. One could make an argument that Mr. Sandman uses it in 2 places, although I would say the first time is more like a flat 13. And you'll find them on the 3 and the 6 chords. Cherokee also uses it on the 5 chord of the key, but I hear it more born out of the melody notes as a chromatic movement from C, C sharp to D. Someday My Prince Will Come uses the 7 sharp 5 on the 3 and the 6. Loverman uses it on the 5 chord. With many tunes, especially ballads, I notice it's used as a way of getting a bluesy inflection. It's in All the Things You Are. You can think of it as the 5 chord or the 3 chord of the key, which is A flat. Hey, don't go anywhere yet. I just wanted to let you know that you can get access to all my PDF lessons for free. You can even get access to the Learn a New Song each month. It's super awesome if you want help in growing a repertoire. You, as a member of the Jazz Rocks Insider, get to hang out with me online once a month. Patrons ask me music questions or just catch up on life. I'll see you there. Now, what do you play over a 7 sharp 5 chord? I mean, you can examine a chord on its own and come up with several scales and ideas to use on it. For example, here are 2 scales that most people commonly gravitate towards, at least nowadays, in order to extract note choices from. The whole tone scale. I like adding 2 passing tones to the whole tone scale, so now I get 8 notes, and you can have the sharp 5 and the flat 7 fall on downbeats. To me, it's harder to get the whole tone scale to sound musical, but when I add the 2 passing tones, now the scale sits in a line I might play a little nicer. But to be honest with you, I don't really use whole tone scales very much. And it's not my choice for the average standard. And I can just imagine now.
But Adam, Monk used the whole tone scale.
Yeah, but Monk used it mostly on 7 flat 5 chords. This one is known as the altered scale. But context is everything. Sometimes these scales don't match the vibe of the overall song as much as other tonal palettes. That's how I like to think of a scale, a palette of colors that an artist or a graphic designer might use that blend with each other to create different moods in a visual context. Our colors are sound, note choices. What I would do is play a line that more closely matches what the melody of the song is doing. If it has a natural 9 in the melody, then you're probably safer using a scale that contains the ninth. Check out this example how the Prez, Lester Young, might treat a 7♯5 chord. That song was This Year's Kisses, recorded in 1937. What Lester Young usually did, as with many players of the day, was to mainly play an arpeggio on a D augmented triad in this case. And in this case, he also used the natural ninth as well. E, the ninth, on the D7♯5 chord, is from the key of G, which is the key that they're playing the song in. I don't think Prez was thinking scales at all, really. He's thinking pure melody. It's really an elegant solution, actually. He was composing a new melody on the spot, and the emphasis of chord tones is very melodious. If it was on the 3 chord, he probably would have played a flat 9. Here are 3 scales using the natural 9 that work great. This one is my favorite go-to scale. It's mode 3 of harmonic minor, but you flatten the 7th, and you can add a passing tone as well. You can also think of it as coming from harmonic Phrygian, perhaps. This one works great on Georgia on My Mind. So with this scale, Mixo flat 6, 5th mode of melodic minor. And don't discount pentatonics. This major pent flat 6 works great. This 9-note scale works over just about any 7♯5 chord, the augmented scale, especially if you play it fast, most of the time. If a melody contains the flat 9, let's say, then use a scale that reflects that. Here are some scales that use the flat 9 that tend to work really well. Especially if the chord is the 3 chord, Phrygian works. The old school cats used to do that all the time. This next scale is often my default. It's a Dorian pentatonic. I usually leave the 6th out, and I have a great 4-note idea that sits nice. It starts on the flat 9 of the chord. If you're playing a classic standard like the ones we've discussed earlier, I would make the suggestion of playing the scales we just went over. Those choices will match the harmony of the songs much better. Let's take a look at some common voicings to play our 7♯5 chord. For instance, in this case, if you know where the 5th is in a chord voicing like this, you can literally change the 5th like this. So let's explore some useful 7♯5 voicings. Here are some on string groupings 5, 4, 3, 2. Here are some using string groupings 4, 3, 2, 1. course, there are many more chord voicings that you can use. These are probably just the most common. 90% of the time, I play rootless voicings. I let the bass player play the root. So I'll play the 3rd and 7th and then the sharp 5th. So this is what I would play for a C7 sharp 5. This is what I would play for a G7 sharp 5. And by the way, I've got some great videos that will help you play better jazz over here.